Hey, welcome. Today is the day after removing the Urander rack from our Cybertruck, and we are going to install the new production version. I'm going to try to show you what it takes to install a Urander rack. One or two people doing the work. If you take a good approach, it should be painless. So let's see how that goes. The first thing that we need to do is install the mounts that go on each one of the mounting points of the Cybertruck. However, since we already have the original mounts installed and the new ones are the same, I'm just gonna leave those there. They basically get attached to the two bolts or the two studs that are here. And then it provides us an anchor point right here where the frame gets installed. So given that I already have those 8, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start pulling out all the hardware for the new rack and start installing the frame section by section. If we need to change anything during the process, then we'll do it and I'll note it on the video. So let's get to it. So as you can see here, we have 4 different boxes with all the rack components, and we're going to start kind of figuring out how they go. We've done this before once, but never with the actual packaging, which seems really nice. Let me show you. I'm actually very glad and surprised in a way to see how much thinking went into the packaging. This is really nice. It keeps all the components from getting damaged, as you can see, and everything has like its place, everything is protected. It even has the instructions to, like, you scan those instructions to know how to do it. So that's what we're gonna do now. But yeah, very pleased with the quality of the packaging that the Urander team did here. So let's start taking components out. Let's check the instructions and get on with it. All right, we spent the last, I don't know, 30 minutes organizing everything. We have the entire rack here on the ground. As you can see, we have the side panels, the molded panels here on the side, the long bars that hold the structure, and then we have all the crossbars on top. Then we have a little bit of the attachments that will bring everything together. So let's gonna start assembling everything on top of the truck and see how it turns out. Okay, so we finished with the first part, which is joining these 2 bars together with the centerpiece, 1 screw per hole, and depending on when you receive the instructions on your rack, there may be a slight difference in the instructions. As you can see, I'm using very small black bolts here. In the video that Urander had at the moment that I did this, the video shows silver short screws, and if you use the silver ones, you're going to be short for the other side. So make sure that you use the short black screws or black bolts for both sides. So we have the one side here and the other side right here. This is going to be the main frame for the rectangle that comprises the top part of the Urander rack. So what we're going to do now is that all these crossbars that are here in the middle, they actually go like this, and we're going to start with the corners and then do the centerpieces. The corners are going to use the longer bolts, and then the centerpieces, which are 7 in the center, those are going to use the shorter bolts, the silver ones. So the silver ones on the inside, those 7 are going to use the square part that goes inside the rail, and the other ones are going to use the self-locking nuts. So that's how we're gonna do all 7. We're gonna put them at the correct distance, spaced evenly. But that's pretty much how you do with all these different square blocks for each one of the crossbars. And the long ones are going to use the long bolts. All right, so we did the top frame already. We have all the bars for the top right here. So I use the measuring tape just to make sure that the distance between each one of the bars is the same on the left and on the right, not necessarily spacing them even because they are all optional, especially the ones in the middle. The frame structure itself is the one on the far left and the one on the far right over there. So that's the front of the car, this is the back of the car. And then of course we're gonna use some of these to mount our rooftop tent. Some we're not gonna use, and we'll remove them as we see that we don't need them. But that was the next step after putting the middle section here, like joining these two bars here and there. We did all the crossbars. So now we're gonna go to the next step, which I believe is gonna be, basically working with these guys, with the side panels and the mounting bases that go on the actual vehicle. We also have to put the wind deflector that's in the front and all the brackets that it needs. So let's get to it. The first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to remove the bolts that are on the 8 mounting points here, because in order to attach the new frame, I need to make that room. And yesterday I sprayed everything with lubricant, so they're a little bit greasy. I'm just gonna basically remove those 8 here. Basically, I'm gonna show you this one, but the other 7 are gonna be the same thing. So this is where each one of the mounting points of the rack go. As you can see, it's just one bolt that holds each of the 8 sections. And yeah, so we're gonna do the same thing on all of them. I'm gonna leave the bolts right here so that when we bring in the hardware, we already have the bolt right there where it's gonna go. And I'm gonna do the same thing for the other 7. So I'm gonna do that now and come back to the rest of the video. This is gonna be the first one, but we're gonna do this process 8 times, right? There's 4 mounting points on the truck. We have this bolt that's here, 17 millimeters with a washer. So make sure that you have the proper tool to make those tight. I have this wrench here, 17 mils, and we're just basically gonna put that here. It just bolts like this on the inside. So let's just put it like real loose here, make it snug. So I'm just basically spinning that bolt in there. And I'm gonna make it just a little bit tight so that I can hold it in place, but I'm not gonna make it very, very tight like as it's gonna be at the end, because we need to make sure that we can wiggle this a little bit, because we're gonna have to mount the entire frame on top of it, and you don't want it to be off center or anything like that. So we're just gonna put it like this for now, and we're gonna do the other 7. So as I'm installing this, just wanted to show you kind of what it looks like. We're bolting all the panels, like the motor panels, with the flat head screws and those nuts. So right now I did the front part, which was a little tricky because there's not a lot of space. So I got on top of the truck, and it's just easier to look at it as you're doing it. So I'm just bolting the pieces here. I'm gonna do one side first, from here to there, and then I'll do the other side. I have my mounts already waiting for the motor panels. So let's keep going, and I'll show you what it looks like after I do one side. So the thing with this is that you have to take your time, and you have to make sure that all the bolts are pretty much loose before you align everything. Then as you align things, you start tightening up the bolts. The trick here, and I'm gonna show you a little bit of what I'm telling you, is that these gaps here are very hard to miss when you're doing it from the top. So you just have to take your time. For example, now I see that I have a little bit of a bigger gap here on this side, but once I put the top, this may line up, so it's gonna be closer. And then on this side, you can see that we kind of mounted it as close as possible to the bottom edge. Right there, all the way to here. You see, it's a difference in the gap here. So what that tells me is that once this goes closer to the side, to the outside, it may line up or I may need to adjust it. So keep that in mind. This is put in place with those nuts and bolts that you see inside. You also have to play with the mount here on the base. So just take your time, watch the Urander guide for installation, and yeah, just I think the key here is to take your time, basically. Now we're gonna put the top over and make the frame a little bit stronger by putting the top that we have here. This is the first thing that we did. It's actually one of the last steps to put on the actual truck. So we're gonna bring that up here and see what it looks like. Today is the next day. The reason being that yesterday we started a little bit late and the night fell on us, but we pretty much completed the whole job of installing the new rack from Urander here on the truck. As you can see, it looks complete, right? But it's missing one thing. It's missing the windscreen that goes, or the wind deflector that goes on the top. That's what we're gonna install now. And with that, we will be done with the basic part of installing the rack. We are going to follow the instructions from our friends at Urander. It looks like we have to put the seal, the rubber seal that goes in the longer part of it. So we're gonna do that now. Based on the instructions, this is what we need to do. We need to put those two through here and out to bolt those here with these bolts. And then on the two sides, those two holes, we'll use this flathead bolts, right, with those nuts. Two on that side and two on this side, along with the ones in the center that should hold it here. I already had a weather strip that will sit below the wind deflector, plus the rubber that's here ensures that there's like no sound vibrations coming inside the cabin. I did not use the weather strip that they provided with this new rack because I already had one sticking there, so I don't need to use it, but it's pretty much the same thing. So let's get on to bolting this thing here and basically finish this project. I thought this was going to be a little bit more complicated, but I really wish I had shown you exactly how we did this. It was a no-brainer. Just hold the two nuts on the back, put the screws in, push this in alignment, and we were basically done really quick. This just took me maybe like 5 minutes. So there are two nuts underneath these two bolts here, and then we use the square brackets that go inside here on the L tracks or T-slots, depending on how you call them. But yeah, basically it all just bolted on right here. I can't believe how easy this was, really. And since I had the weather strip plus the new rubber that they provided, there's absolutely no vibrations to be felt on the windshield. And we are done with this part of the project. I'm going to show you from the outside. But this is what the roof looks like. I'm actually standing on the glass roof here. I just wanted to show you real quick. I I have the towel here because my knees hurt when when I'm just bending there. But basically, this is the rack. It's complete. All the crossbars are installed, although I am not actually needing all the crossbars. There's my Model Y. And we are done with this part of the project, so let me show you from the bottom. Just walk it without falling, of course. Yeah, our Urander roof rack project is completed. It looks very similar to the previous version, but as you can see, it's lower profile, so that means that it'll help with aerodynamic efficiency. This is it. And now we're done with this part of the project. Now we're going to install our awning on the side, the Starlink on the front top, and our rooftop tent, so we can go on more adventures. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you come back for the next one.